Okay, and welcome back everybody. In this video tutorial, we will be taking a look at the sweep command found in activity 2.1.5. In this case, taking a look at it, looks like we're going to be creating a paperclip using a sketch, using a path that's already been provided, as well as a profile that's already been provided. Just jumping over here, taking a look at the packet that they have provided for us. This is simply, well, it's simple, is an easy way to call it. Basically, PLTW is just saying, hey, we've given you all the stuff, just go ahead and do the sweep, and be done with this. So let's jump back into Inventor. Let's take a look here. All right, so we're going to be using sweep, all right, and taking up into Model tab in the Create panel. We can come up here, find sweep, go ahead and select sweep. And just by selecting sweep, we can see that Inventor is actually smart enough to recognize a profile that we can use. All right, the only thing that's requiring out of us is to come out and we can see that path has been highlighted. So let's go out there and select that path. Okay, and just like that, it's giving us the preview. We can go ahead and say okay, and we've got ourselves a paperclip. All right, so that's pretty simple. That's done. All right, now there's a couple things behind the scenes I want to make sure we go ahead and talk about. Once again, we're seeing that PLTW has just provided everything that we need to do. We click a button and it's done. But what I want you to see and understand is how things are done behind the scenes to prepare and prep in order to get to that point. So I'm going to just jump over here to a second IPT. In this case, we're going to go out here and create a hose, all right, that's in a regular shape, and we're going to take a tube as well as we're going to go in there after that and modify it and create sort of a licorice looking piece. All right, so let's go ahead and let's first start out by creating a spline, and I'm just going to make an irregular curve using that spline. I'm going to go ahead and just say create and come up here and finish the sketch. All right, so the next part of this is we need to go out there and throw a profile such as a circle. We can use a square. We can basically use any shape that we want to follow that path. All right, in order to do that, we need to come out and specify a work plane on the end of this, and we should be able to select that same point twice, and it should be providing that work plane for us. Okay, I'm not happy with the direction of that work plane that's just been provided, so I'm going to go ahead and right click and say flip normal, and now we have the right side to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and say look at that now, and let's go out there and create a 2D sketch on that. All right, so in this simple first case, we're just going to come out here, select the end of that. All right, go ahead and create our circle, right click, finish that 2D sketch, and we'll throw this back to the home view, and actually I'm going to go ahead and orbit this a little bit. All right, so now we're done with that. We can come out here, use sweep. It's smart enough to detect that first profile, and then we can come out here, we can be looking. All right, the path is not showing up, and this is the reason why. All right, depending on the angle and the radius of those irregular curves, all right, if it's going to be self-intersecting, maybe things are too close together, it's going to sweep along that. You could have an issue with it, and right now it's basically being a little bit tricky. Let's go ahead and say okay, let's just see what happens. We should be getting an error message. All right, it's talking about us having a self-intersecting surface. All right, so let's go back and let's edit this. All right, let's see if we can get this fixed. All right, so I'm glad I did that. It really shows you it can be a little bit tricky. So in this case, it's really talking about this area here. I can already tell that radius is way too small for such a large profile. So let's go out there, right click, let's go in there and edit that sketch. And we'll just throw a dimension on this, see where we're at. It's saying it's 0.24, and we'll go ahead and cut that by less than half. Actually, let's go with the 0.1. Right click, finish that 2D sketch, and let's go try it again. So sweep, oh, it worked just fine. So it detected that profile as well as the path. We say okay, and it worked just fine for us. All right, so in some cases you're going to have to do one of two things: go out there and actually modify the path, okay, or go out there and modify the profile to make this work correctly. All right, so I'm glad it showed us being a little bit fussy. Two things you got to watch out for. All right, just to show you that we don't have to just use a simple shape like a circle, a square, a triangle. We can actually go out there and customize our own shape. I'm going to come back in here and go back to our sketch of our profile, and I'm actually going to go ahead and edit that. and I'm going to really push it on this one. I'm going to come out here and actually draw sort of a licorice shape. And hang in there with me just 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and pause this. Okay, so as you've seen, I've gone out there and I've added some geometry. I used some trim, some extend, used a circular pattern. I've got this sort of star looking profile to use. So now that I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and say finish sketch. And you can see how it has this sort of a licorice look to it. And there's actually some gaskets you can find out there that follow something that's very similar to it. All right, so you got to see that whole setup right there. And to finish all this off, I go ahead and turn off that work plane, and now we have that IPT to use. And let's go ahead and let's open up one last IPT. In this case, I'm going to show you how we can use something called a rail guide to kind of help us with a sweep. Okay, so we're going to come out here and we're going to use sort of an ellipse shape, and I'm going to try to somewhat get close to what you'll find maybe with like a razor or a toothbrush handle. Or ergonomic. They have some smooth sort of shape to them. They use a sweep as well as something called a rail guide. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. All right, so I'm done with the profile that I'm wanting to use. I'm going to go ahead and say finish sketch, and I'm going to go up here and use my origin and turn on. See if I get the right one here. Here we go. I'm going to turn on my YZ plane, the visibility on that. I'm going to go ahead and create a 2D sketch from there. And I'm going to go ahead and flip it. And I'm just wanting it to follow just a simple line. So I'm going to come in here and pull this back a ways. Say, I don't know, that far. Finish the 2D sketch on that. So if we just did a simple sweep right now, we'd see it just following that line, and it would just sort of be an extruded ellipse. And that's not what I'm really wanting. Instead, what I want to go out there and I want to give it that ergonomic sort of look and feel to it. All right, so I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to do a couple things. First of all, I'm going to go back into my sketch, and I want to give us a marker to use because I'm not sure if a point's going to be coming up. I'll go ahead and drop that in and say finish that 2D sketch. And now I'm going to be coming in, and I'm actually going to be turning on my XZ plane. Turn the visibility on that, and I'm going to go ahead and say create a 2D sketch on my XZ plane. And once again, I'll go ahead and rotate this. And now I'm going to come out here and using spline, start from that point. Let's see if we can get the project. There we go. Let's go ahead and sort of come up with an ergonomic sort of design to this. It's not going to be perfect. And we'll go ahead and create that. Finish the 2D sketch. So it's getting a little bit busy here, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off the visibility on these so you can kind of see what's happened here. I've got one sketch, okay, that I want to use as my profile, one to use as my path, and then another that I'm going to be using as my rail guide. All right, so I'm going to come up here now and use sweep once again. It's smart enough to detect that profile. Now I'm going to come out here and select my path. It's going to be going along that. Now when you look over here and type, we can see we have a couple different options. Okay, the one we're going to be using in this case is path and guide rail. Okay, and now I should be able to come out here and use that guide rail. Okay, so it's going to be extruding this profile along this path, but it's also going to be using that guide rail. Okay, and once I say okay, we can see that work for us. I'm going to go to the top here. All right, and it's actually going to be using that guide rail for both sides. So it is symmetrical or a mirror image. All right. Like I said, I was trying to go for sort of an ergonomic handle. It doesn't look that way perfect, but I think you get the idea of how you can go out there and use guide rails. But anyway, there you go. There's some options you can find within Sweep. Great command to use. Some great features with it. You can get some pretty complex, geometry and sweeps out there to use. So there you go. Enjoy that.